Hi folks, Scott here. Welcome back to the Movie Reviewers 100. I do the Thursday reviews here on this collab channel, and I am going to talk about a couple of movies that just came out last weekend here in Chicago. First I'd like to talk about The Neon Demon, which is the latest film from Nicholas Winding Refn, who did Drive, and Bronson with Tom Hardy prior to that, and after Drive he did another Ryan Gosling film called Only God Forgives, which I didn't see. So I was really interested but I like the other two movies, so I was really interested to check out this new one. It takes place in LA. The main character is Elle Fanning, Dakota Fanning's little sister, who was in the Sofia Coppola movie Somewhere with Stephen Dorff, and she was also in Super 8, the J.J. Abrams movie. She is 16 years old, and she is an aspiring fashion model, and she meets with Christina Hendricks, who runs a modeling agency. She signs her up, and then she starts getting in a lot of trouble with some of the other people that are in the business. In particular, there's Jena Malone, who is a makeup artist, who takes an immediate, less than wholesome liking to her. That's very obvious from their first scene together. Jena Malone introduces her to a couple other models who are played by Bella Heathcote from Dark Shadows, and Abbey Lee, who I believe was one of the women that got who was being taken to safety by Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road. Don't quote me on that. I had a little trouble distinguishing those two actresses from each other. I'm not sure which was which. I know the one with shorter hair got a lot of plastic surgery, and she sort of boasts about that, whereas the other one didn't. There's some scenes involving them sort of competing with each other for placements in a fashion show that's being run by Alessandro Nivola, who played Nicolas Cage's younger brother in Face Off. Haven't seen him in a while. Everyone is sort of entranced by Elle Fanning's character. There's a scene in which one of the other models, who's one of the main characters in the movie, sort of does her little walk back and forth for the guy, and he isn't even looking at her, isn't even paying attention. But as soon as he sees Elle Fanning, he's just like, oh my goodness, she's glorious, you know, and everyone is sort of just drawn to her. The other models really aren't happy about that. They don't see why this girl who just got here a few days ago is suddenly everyone's favorite, you know, whereas they've been putting in the time and working hard. Some of the other characters in this movie include a guy who shot a couple pictures of Elle initially and got her some attention. She's living in a sort of rundown motel that's run by Keanu Reeves. He's a real jerk in this movie. It's a very good performance from Keanu Reeves as a jerk. Who else is in this movie? Well, a little bit about... this movie kind of reminded me a lot of David Lynch, in particular Lost Highway. It's a very languidly paced movie. There's lots of pauses between lines, usually. It has that sort of like dark side of LA feel to it that's very, very ominous. And there's a number of sequences that remind me specifically of scenes in movies like Lost Highway, where the music is suddenly overwhelming and the lighting is all really bizarre. Very, very striking, the way some of these scenes are shot and lit. Ultimately, though, I can't really recommend it just because some of the character turns, in particular, there's a character turn from Elle Fanning that it just seems completely unmotivated. And I was wondering during this one sequence, is this going to be a Lost Highway thing where her like personality transfers with someone else, and she just like makes this sort of inexplicable change? And she does, but there's no real explanation for it. You know, suddenly she goes from being nice to being not nice within the space of one scene. We don't really know why. And then her character just disappears from the movie, and we sort of focus on the three remaining women. And there's not a lot of reason for that either. And then they throw in this last-minute twist, and then things just sort of like go off the rails. It's just like, what the heck is going on here? That was an ending, you know, I don't, you know. So yeah, can't really recommend that it wasn't really a satisfying viewing experience. I'm all for experimentation, but when you have a movie that is basically normal for like the first, say, 3/4, and then for like the last, you know, 20 minutes or so, suddenly it's like, what's going on here? You know, why is this happening? What's going on? I don't get it, you know. All of a sudden it's just like, what? So yeah, can't really recommend that one. I also saw the 20 years later sequel to Independence Day, and I've both read and heard a lot of bad things about this movie, but funny enough, one of the positive reviews actually came from Red Letter Media. Mike, who does the Mr. Plinkett reviews, he has this channel, Red Letter Media, which he hosts with his friend Jay, where they talk about something new and they kind of rip into it for a good half hour or more, you know, when it's worth talking about. Anyway, he actually enjoyed Independence Day too. Unlike the other Roland Emmerich movies that he's seen, he hates them all except for this one. And while he doesn't say that it's a really good movie, he still, you know, it's not a particularly good movie, he still found it enjoyable, whereas, you know, Jay didn't like it at all. And Jim Gisriel, another favorite YouTuber of mine, also really hated the movie. He thought it was absolutely terrible. I just sort of like said, why not? You know, I'm kind of curious as to how things play out, so I'll check it out. The first Independence Day movie was something which I thought would sort of come and go. I mean, it was massively marketed. The marketing campaign for that movie was just enormous. Everywhere you looked in 1996, it was like posters of giant ships hanging over ceilings saying, you know, they're coming, and I'm just, you know, for a while I started to believe that they actually would come for real, you know, because, you know, all those posters were everywhere. I wasn't expecting great things, but I actually really enjoyed like the first like half hour of the movie. You know, it starts out really great with the title sequences coming, boom, and then you have the shot of the moon, and this music turns ominous, and you see the shadow of the giant mothership come over it, and then you cut to Earth where there's a, you know, basically a radio scientist in a lab, and he's playing REM. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, they're not holding back, are they? They are going all out in this one. And so, while we're introduced to the characters, we see the slow progress of the ships entering the atmosphere and then moving through the atmosphere and finally resting to a stop over the cities, and that build-up I thought was really cool, and of course the big destruction that happens after that. After that point, though, it gets really silly, and it's an incredibly corny movie. You know, really, I'm not fond of it. But the funny thing is that unlike a lot of other big hit movies that have sort of like been forgotten about, this movie is actually held on in the consciousness for a while. At least it seems to. People are like, oh, we love the President Whitmore speech. You know, Bill Pullman as the president, his big speech on the airfield at the end. I'm like, really? That's like one of your favorite movie speeches? I can think of a couple other movie presidents that are way better than Bill Pullman. Morgan Freeman in Deep Impact, for example. You know, he was good. So since it was a big hit, and since it's apparently so very well liked as just kind of a cheesy, fun, cornball, disaster, epic, whatever, they made a sequel to it. Roland Emmerich, of course, is back directing, and this involves basically the Jeff Goldblum character, David Levinson, who is basically a really tech-savvy guy who deciphered the alien code in the first movie and managed to stop them using his Mac laptop. The president, Bill Pullman, you know, the former president, he's back again. Apparently he's still psychically connected to the aliens, as is the Brent Spiner scientist character and an African warlord who's been hunting down aliens that have escaped from their crash ship over the last few years. You know, he's been, you know, racking up a body count of aliens since the previous movie. Let's see, who else is in this movie? There's a huge number of characters. Oh yeah, Judd Hirsch is in this movie. Jeff Goldblum's father, he's also in it. And Vivica Fox, who is Will Smith's lady in the first movie. Will Smith's character got killed, apparently, you know, testing like alien craft or something like that. They don't really mention that in the movie, but it was something that was sort of publicized before the movie came out. She's in this movie very, very, very briefly. She is a doctor now, and she's helping people, you know, patients get to safety during, you know, the initial onslaught of aliens coming again. Because apparently before the alien ships went down the first movie, they sent out a distress signal to signal their comrades back in their home galaxy or wherever they are to say, hey, come to Earth, we need your help, you know, which doesn't really jive with what was established in the first movie. What we saw in the first movie was the aliens basically communicated psychically with Bill Pullman. That's why he's sort of connected to them still. and he described their civilization as being everybody in one big ship moving from planet to planet, using all their natural resources and moving on. And that contradicts what's in the new movie, because not only is there more than one mothership out there, plundering the galaxy, but they're not looking for water and oxygen and plant life and things like that. All they want is the molten core of the Earth to power their ships, which doesn't really jive with what was established in the first movie. Also, apparently, in the first movie, there was an alien ship, a giant alien ship that actually landed and started drilling into the ground to the molten core, but we never saw that because this is something they just thought of for this movie, so that's a little sloppy. And then there's the cast. The cast of characters, a lot of whom aren't terribly memorable. One of the new people in the movie is Maika Monroe, who is the lead in It Follows. She got cast as Bill Pullman's daughter, even though there's an actress named, I can't remember her name actually. I knew it before. She was in The Duff. She was the main character in The Duff, and she was also in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Paige something, maybe? I can't remember her name. Anyway, she's still working, but they didn't want her. They wanted, someone hotter, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, she's in the movie. Liam Hemsworth from The Hunger Games, he's in the movie. There's a guy playing Will Smith's grown-up son, who's now, they're all fighter pilots. They use the alien technology to enhance their jets and their weapons, and they can use ray guns and force fields now, just like the aliens did, but apparently that's no match for the new ship, which comes along and is just incredibly massive. It's so massive, actually, that if this was the Earth right here, this would be the alien ship, like, gripping it like that, gripping onto the side. I'm like, how could the crust of the Earth actually sort of handle the weight of that thing, the pressure that would put on? It would just, like, collapse the whole planet. It's crazy. Yeah. It strains credulity, to say the least. There's also a couple of sidekick characters. For some reason, Liam Hemsworth has a friend who he partners up with on space flights. He's really annoying because when he meets the Chinese girl who's like one of the fighter pilots, he's just like, ooh, she's really cute, I want to ask her out, blah, blah, blah. That's really annoying. Jeff Goldblum also has this sort of bureaucrat sidekick character, an unwanted sidekick guy who's like saying, Mr. Levinson, we need to get to DC. We need to get there for the opening ceremony. And there's one point, he's carrying around a briefcase. He actually throws his briefcase in the trash midway through the movie, and he's like, heck with this, give me a ray gun, I want to blast some aliens. Really, really annoying character. Judd Hirsch, he's got his own storyline. He isn't in contact with his son for most of the movie, but he happens to come across 4 kids who are brothers and sisters. Apparently they lost their parents, but we never see that. That scene probably got cut from the first part of the movie. One of them is Joey King, the girl who played Channing Tatum's daughter in White House Down, which is also a Roland Emmerich movie. Anyway, he is driving them around, and eventually they find a whole school bus full of kids, so he's driving them around, trying to get them to safety, and eventually they intersect with the other characters. And so what happens is Brent Spiner and David Levinson basically figure out that the ship, basically, the big ship, has an alien queen in it. And the reason why all the ships went down at the end of the first movie is because when they blew up the mothership in space, that killed the queen, and that broke the psychic link and also the power supply to all the ships, which is why they crashed. And they conclude that if they destroy the alien queen in some way, then the psychic link will be broken. Even if all their ships are still working, they'll just up and leave, because the aliens, without the control of the mother, of the queen, will just go, oh, that didn't work, we better leave now, and just take off. I'm like, they're this close away, they're this close to getting to the core, and they're just giving up because they're like, oh, we don't have a queen anymore, we can't do anything anymore, we'll just leave. I'm just like, give me a break, give me a break. Yeah. This movie is really, really fast-paced. It was quite a contrast. I saw this on a double feature, actually, with The Neon Demon. And whereas The Neon Demon's very languidly paced, as I said, very, very slow, takes its time, Independence Day 2 kind of, barrels along from scene to scene, really doesn't give you a breath. And there's a lot of characters and a lot of storylines to deal with, which is probably a good thing, because there's just so much story to get through. Bill Pullman has another big speech. The one from the first movie was okay. This one's not nearly as good. There's another big speech. The end sequence has them chasing the queen, which is like 20 times bigger than the usual alien, around the salt flats, trying to destroy it, trying to keep it from obtaining this artifact that it needs. And that's actually, you know, a pretty decent sequence for the most part. It's the conception behind it is stupid, but they have them flying around all over the place trying to kill her in all these different ways. She has a shield and she has a weapon, and there's all these things that they have to sort of deal with at the last minute. That was okay. That was a fairly exciting scene, but, you know, ultimately the movie itself, not worth your time, I think, especially if you're not much of a fan of the first movie. If you are a fan of the first movie, you might like it, but then you might be disappointed. If you're not a fan of the first movie, there's nothing here for you at all, really. So, there's my 2 reviews. Thank you very much for watching. Please visit our Facebook page if you haven't. We'd love to hear from you as to like particular actors, actresses, directors, genres, series that you'd like us to cover in upcoming weeks. Subscribe to us if you haven't already on YouTube. We appreciate it very much, and I'll see you again next week with another review. Later.